1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next broadcast of Amestris Audio. I am Quint866.
Hello, and welcome to Amestris Audio. I'm Katashiki Bro. Wait, what?
Okay, well, I guess there goes our intro.
Yeah, I love to screw up every podcast intro. Believe me, as someone who's used to podcasts, I like to make these fun.
Hey, I like to be comic relief as well. I'm literally a cat boy who causes chaos and destruction in whatever anime fan base I wake into.
Yeah, like, let's just say a bunch of random stuff and not care.
Yeah,
All right.
Let me just defend Shield Hero Season 2, even though everyone in the fan base seems to have an unnatural hatred for it, even though I love it.
For the record, I actually like Shield Hero Season 2 as well.
I like it as well. I mean, obviously it's not as like peak as Season 1, but like I think people are being too harsh on it.
Yeah, it's really not that bad, but
Anyway, we are back with Full Metal Alchemist related content. This time we shall be doing the Alchemy Exam arc, which episode 6, 7, and 8. Figured I'd say that right from the get-go because I know last time I didn't exactly name the thing from the start of the recording, so figured I might as well do that now.
So, who wants to go first?
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
All right, fair enough.
Why not?
Episode 6, The Alchemy Exam. I make it sound more exciting than it actually is, but whatever. So, okay, I'm going to try and keep Brotherhood comparisons loose because, you know, this is about Full Alchemist 03, and I don't want this to be
the upcoming ones are mostly pretty original anyways.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason why I'm saying this now is because, like, I know there's all the Brotherhood this, 03 that. I'm just trying to keep this relatively self-contained, but I do feel like
I
just
think we can do that
for the sake of it. Huh?
I think we can do that easily because, like, the upcoming stuff is very, like...
Yeah, it's very like,
differently handled.
Like, the most I can probably say is that, okay, well, 3 things. Thing number 1, the Alchemy Exam this time has 2 episodes dedicated to it, as opposed to just 1 in Brotherhood.
Well, obviously, Alchemy Exam is like a wholly all-free episode.
Yeah, like, I mean, the actual, like, plot, you know, the Shao Tucker, Nina, you know, Alchemy Exam, like, they spent longer on this particular plot element than they did for the equivalent scene/episode in Brotherhood.
Oh, yeah, but that, and, well, here's the thing, they made the Alchemy Exam its own episode.
True. Thing number 2, this is one of the most infamous parts of any anime. I mean, Shao Tucker and Nina. It's like, literally, you can look at like top 10 darkest moments in anime, and I can guarantee you there's gonna be an entry regarding those 2. And if I'm being completely honest, while yes, it's dark, yes, it's memorable, people, you're kind of overhyping it just a little bit, if I'm being honest here. And thing number 3, honestly, I actually forgot what thing number 3 was.
Okay, well, I was not expecting you to bring that previous point up.
Well, but literally, bro, I've seen, like, so many people, like, top 10 darkest moments in anime, Shao Tucker and Nina from Full Metal Alchemist, Griffith's betrayal from Berserk, like, guys, oh yeah, episode 3 from Madoka Magical, guys, it's only effective 1 time. It's outrageous when we have, like, anime top 10 lists that put the same entry in multiple videos. Like, if it's just for 1 video, that's fine. But, like, then I see some channels have, like, multiple, like, lists of it, and they put the same entry in, like, 2 or 3 times. I'm like, guys, you already did a video on this. Come on!
Also, I'll be honest, as much as I don't want to bring it up, I feel like I need to, because it's too relevant.
Like, there's a reason why it's so infamous.
I was about to say, okay, here's the thing. Whenever I look on YouTube and it's the Chimera stuff, I'm like, I look at the Nina stuff, and then I see that most people are like, I see that a lot of videos are just showing like the Brotherhood version, and I'm like,
And like the O3 version is
why?
way darker.
So it's like, I'm sorry, but it's just like, why? Like, Brotherhood did not make the Chimera thing special,
And
though.
not only
Like,
that, but
that
Shao and Nina
wasn't.
actually appear after the episode. Like O3 actually nailed making it darker. So I don't know what's going through people's brains. Just magnetizing themselves over to Brotherhood.
Because it's like, you have to understand that all three, like, obviously it was special in the manga too, but because it
Like they
was
spent more
new.
time on it here.
Well, here's the thing. In the manga, it was new out, so it was like, it was a fresh thing that people knew about. But all three is what truly like brought it to the public. That
Oh
like
yeah, absolutely.
really, really, you know, is where it got like globally spread, was from
Hmm.
all three, not Broho. Um,
Yep.
which is why I find it really annoying that the latter adaptation is getting all the videos and publicity, and I'm like, guys, stop ignoring all three,
And
please.
keep on. It was one episode in Brotherhood. O3, it not only has two episodes, but even extends later into the plot. Like, did they forget that Lab 5 exists? Hello?
Yeah.
And the fact that both of them are
Um,
still, well, technically alive in some capacity by the end. So, it's dark stuff. But anyways, okay. I gotta talk about the actual episode itself. Episode 6, the alchemy exam. Well, for one, I do like how again we get to spend more time with Shao Tucker and Nina and what's the dog's name? Alexander, I think. I think the dog's
um,
name is Alexander. I mean, something
can't
that always
remember.
kind of bothered me in Brotherhood was okay. I'm not saying this to be some sort of Brotherhood hater, but I felt like the time Ed and Al spent with Nina wasn't quite as long as I would have wanted in Brotherhood. But here, since we have two episodes dedicated to it, I get a much more closer impression of the two, and naturally, it makes that twist hit way harder. I also like, how, when Ed first how in the scene where like Ed goes into the room with Bradley, they have like the chair and he sits down on it. I really like the way they showcase Bradley there. I like Bradley in almost
Yeah.
any incarnation of Fullmetal Alchemist. He's one of the best characters, whether he be as the homunculus Pride or as the homunculus Wrath. I just love Bradley. I'm just gonna say that. And
Mm.
there's just, really, I don't have anything too much to say other than it's great build up. The alchemy exam itself is kind of nice. We get to see Ed, use his head. We get to see other alchemists doing things, like the guy who made a giant stone tower, the guy who made a paper balloon. Ed, does his thing, where he does the clapping hands together transmutation circle that wins him, the dub. I do really like it. It's a great job showcasing, sort of the Amestris state military before we get into the deeper roots we see later in the series. Ed being what else? Ed, Al, this is just a good episode. I don't really have anything like too revolutionary to comment on since it really is a two parts of a greater whole. So I think I'll end my analysis there, and now I'll let you talk about episode 6.
Okay, well, I certainly have things to talk about.
Well, I just didn't want to
The
babble because I know I can ramble on a lot, so I want to give you a turn to talk.
Well, I mean, you might as well listen to a podcast, but
Well,
anyways.
to
Um,
be fair though, I'll probably have much more to comment on when I get to episode 7 because I can interconnect the context there.
yeah, I
I'm mostly keeping
get
my
that.
speech here a bit on the shorter side because I have more to say about this episode
Yeah,
when we get the context of the second part.
yeah, I get that. I'd imagine you'd probably save some of the stuff until like after 7.
Yep.
Um, so like for me, it's like what Alchemy Exam does well on its own is like the atmosphere. Like, okay, here's the thing. See the atmosphere of all three. Obviously, how it go on about how good it is all the time. Well, so okay, this um this is one of the ones where I'm like, I feel really earned with
Yeah, like they do this. They do
my
it also.
praise
Like
with it.
you say, atmosphere. They did a really good job of giving that. Like it seems chillax, but almost a little too much so. Like we have like Ed and Al, like learning alchemy, preparing for the alchemy exam. It seems pretty straightforward, but like you also get that sort of underlying darkness to it.
Yeah, also in this episode, they build up the Tucker thing with having him like they make like I love what O3 does here, the whole subtle thing of the the it's like they're like, oh yeah, what happened to that chimera you made, the talking one, and then he's like,
And he
and
just
then
like just
actually
utter silence, utter
like
silence.
something that O3's music does is that I believe Loto mentioned this was it had the clanking metal kind of sound, and that also has it as a running thing. It's interesting. Um because I believe Loto brought up that it was kind of like it felt kind of like something you'd hear in Silent Hill or like the Terminator.
It kind of does actually. Now that I
I,
think about it.
I wasn't like okay, hold on and also the Terminator, in terms of Scar being a nemesis to fit the tone and stuff,
Fair.
um, with the music. Um, so what I think this as well is it's like the snowy atmosphere is just done so well here. I actually love a lot of snow atmospheres I've noticed in like various media. Because I don't know what it is. It's just a vibe whenever I
Nino
see
wants
it.
to build a snowman.
Yeah, and like all three is just it just the way it was done felt really unique. It felt like I was watching something
It
with
felt
like
earned.
a perspective that wasn't what I was used to. It was like just different. And the other thing is, I like th- this episode. Okay, I know that a lot of you are thinking this episode seems a bit like lame, a bit fillerish, but you want to know what? You want to know why this episode works? Is because it's able to flesh itself out. It makes it so that the alchemy exam is important. It makes it so that this episode is really just focused on that. It is him
And
like
it's not like it doesn't go anywhere. Like they actually this does connect into the greater plot threads. Classic build
it,
up and payoff.
it's a more interesting way of Ed getting his role into the military. Um,
Solid world building too.
yeah,
I mean,
like
since Ed literally just got to the central station, whatever, last episode on the train, we kind of get to see what the area is like in a bit of more of a mundane training period slash. Like, I just like it how like this is like Ed's like first real impression of the central area.
and also, I know that a lot of people don't like how the alchemy is handled in all three, but I actually quite like how random it is. It makes for like some like interesting, like
It felt
unexpected,
kind of the
like
same to me, if I'm being honest. I didn't know people didn't like the alchemy in '03. That's news to me.
well, yeah, they always have. It's just, but for me, I think having like the alchemy being like like the transmutations being so unexpected things you would never think. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, like
Um,
it's not as predictable as, oh yeah, this guy has the fire magic, this guy has the water magic, this guy has the lightning magic. Yeah, some RPGs are kind of lame with that. So here you actually like you're right, they can pull surprises with this sort of thing.
yeah, and it's just like because I noticed that like just to make sure I'm not coming off as plagiarizing. Can I mention a few names?
Yeah, I'm sure, might as well. I mean,
Right. So like there's this guy called Goat Jesus who's covered a bunch of FMA videos, and he's mentioned that there's like the what was it? It was like how the alchemy exam kind of feels like Harry Potter, and I could not agree more. Um, it's
Yeah,
kind of
I can definitely see that.
because like it's like it's like the mystery, the intrigue. It's like you don't just typically get this kind of thing. It's like
Yeah,
Edward
it's got this
is
sort of intriguing, unfamiliar feel to it, which makes you curious
it,
to keep watching.
it's like Edward is like it's almost like seeing someone like take like 12, 15 or so years to go to school, but instead it's just the freaking military. Like, I like that aspect of it. It's
Yeah, and it actually does a
a
really good
fun,
job at making you feel in the same position as Edward, since you, as the viewer, aren't exactly familiar with these sort of things early, or either.
and
But
also keep in mind that this also further complements how it's like the military being screwed up on top of this. Because the military are definitely worse in No Free. Like what
yeah,
they
they're
do is
way
definitely
shadier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like what they do is far more sinister in O Free. Like you
Uh-huh.
cannot trust anyone in the military in O Free.
Really, the most
Because
trustworthy person,
especially
in my opinion, are obviously Roy and Maze. But even then, there is some less than more. Like, there's some more. There is still moral ambiguity, even with Roy and Maze. More so, Roy
yeah,
anyway. Even so.
yeah. The thing is that Roy and Mays did some questionable stuff, but they did it for good reasons.
And also, like,
Um,
they don't fall into the same corruption as, say, like the Iron Blood Alchemist or like Frank Archer or whatever. Like, you can see these two are
yeah,
genuinely good people despite the circumstances.
yeah. It's made like very, very interesting. How it is actually really cool how O Free still keeps it as like Maze and Roy are, like linked together so closely. I'm glad they still kept that
Yeah,
because I
you
really
really
like
feel the sort of like close buddies. I don't even just mean as, oh yeah, we're in the same squad. Like they really feel like brothers in arms when you think about it.
yeah.
It also makes,
I'm
just
like
Maze dying and Void taking it very personally. Well, it feels earned. It does feel personal.
yeah. It's like I think this like setup episode was absolutely essential for like setting up the emotions. I also think it's like the pregnancy thing. It feels similar to the thing in Valley and Broho.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I
Um,
forgot about that.
but I would say this was generally pretty well done because just the timing of events, the comedy was pretty well placed, honestly. And don't get me wrong. See, whenever I say like Olfrey's comedy is constantly like well placed, that doesn't mean I think in every instance. There's actually a moment in I think it's early on that I wasn't. Okay. Um, since it's not on my mind right now, I'm just gonna say that like I wouldn't change much. Here's the thing: alchemy exam on a surface level, yes, it seems underwhelming, but how much? Here's the thing that doesn't make it underwhelming: how much would you actually change about it? Because I'm not convinced that it needs to be changed in any of
Yeah,
its
like what
aspects.
could they add or remove to make it better? Honestly, this is a pretty complete package if you ask me. That is a very
I'm
good
like,
point.
if anyone thinks the balloon transmutation is too random, that's the point. Like,
Like
this is his first, like, proper dig at it. So,
literally everyone is like
go
everyone's
figure.
trying to impress here. So of course it's meant to be sudden. That's really the point of the exam, to try and impress
Yeah,
Bradley, who's like, you
yeah,
all
for
need to
real.
do something to impress me. So it works in that regard.
I don't think you understand, Quinn. It doesn't fit the brohole version of events. No.
Oh yeah. Don't give me any of that. All right.
Alright,
Well, I
well,
think
Night
that
of the
fairly
Chimeras cry.
covers episode 6 for the most part. Any last minute
Night of the
remarks you want to
Chimeras
cram in
cry.
before we get to 7?
Again, Night of the Chimeras cry, let's go.
Alrighty then. Episode 7, Night of the Chimera's Cry. And like I said, this is one of the most infamous episodes, not only in Full Metal Alchemist, no matter what version you talk about, but also just in anime history. And if I'm being honest, yeah, it is kind of for understandable reasons, but I think people are overhyping it just a little bit. Not trying to take away from this episode being interesting stuff, though, because obviously this episode is pretty damn memorable. I mean, before we even get to the whole big freaking twist that I'm sure any of you watching already know happens, first things first, again, I like it how building off of the episode before, it's building up sort of the shady things, just around, Shao Tucker, Nina's house, you got the questions, about the mother, Shao Tucker's past, as an alchemist. You have, the Iron Blood guy that's like, Shao, you need to renew your alchemy thing or else you might get your license or whatever taken away. Like, you really start to feel this, like, yeah, it still feels similar to the previous episode where like it seems mundane, but the shadier things are like really starting to sort of showcase themselves now. Obviously, we have, Scar in the background and all that. I mean, fuck, man, I love Scar. Honestly, I love Scar pretty equally in both versions of the story, and I think this was
Yeah.
the right place to introduce him, considering the fact that, they're trying to do this, sort of it's quiet but too quiet atmosphere. And it makes for a pretty good way to introduce Scar. I mean, technically speaking, this isn't like his first appearance, since, episode 6 came out, but like, this is definitely where we'll get to see a little bit more of Scar, and the story will naturally future build up on him. But yeah, let's just get the cat out of the bag since people already know it. Yeah, Shao Tucker uses his daughter and dog and turns them into a chimera. And it is, well, it's disturbing. And well, I mean, I don't really know what to say since everything that's been said about this episode, like, oh my god, Shell Tucker, what the frick have you done? Poor Nina. Oh god, Scar sees him, and oh no, blood pile. Like that is probably like the shortest like reaction imitation I can give for this episode, and honestly, a lot of people probably reacted that way, and of course, it pulls on the old heartstrings. So,
You know, this is
yeah.
actually this is actually an episode that people can't seem to get past in either version, from what I'm seeing.
Oh yeah, it's too dark. Well, guys, come on. Okay, okay, yes. I'm not trying to say it isn't dark, but there are way darker things in anime, and I'm sure people didn't put down the series then. Now, maybe it's because it was, like, maybe it's because episodes 1 through 6 didn't like touch on something quite to this magnitude yet. But I think it's better that way. It makes the shock not only more earned, but I mean, honestly, it
Well,
was built up to. It's not like Evangelion or Elfen Lied where it's shock value for the sake of it. Here, it's
I mean,
rightfully earned, and honestly, more credit to them.
I think it's more so that they just don't want to, like they don't want to be reminded of like Nina's death because, like,
Look,
you
look,
know,
look! I get it. I get it. It's
come on.
dark. She died way too young as her dog. I feel really weird saying that aloud. I just want to say now, but like honestly, and I'm gonna say this right now, people, forgive me for sounding morbid, it wouldn't be as impactful if they didn't kill a character people actually cared about. Like, if they killed a random generic side character, people wouldn't care about them because they're a random generic side character. Because Nina was someone people did care about, it's effective.
Mm,
And
yeah,
hey, let's
because
be
they
real
gave
here.
you.
Nina's death is way more impactful than Mammy and Madoka Magical Girl. And for the record, both had 2 episodes to themselves. And I felt more when Nina died because I actually cared about Nina. Whereas Mammy and Madoka Magical Girl, I'm sorry, I really didn't care for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, Night of the Chimera's Cry. Quite the memorable episode, and definitely a shakeup for the status quo. Because coming out of this episode, you're probably going to be thinking, Well, shit, the series is going for something different than I was expecting. And well, sure enough, later series comes in and beats that hammer and nail in to the wood splits. I don't know what that analogy was, but I just came up with that off the top of my head. Anyways, your turn.
So, the thing is, uh, what was I going to say?
I don't know,
So,
what were you gonna say?
for Night of the Chimera's Cry, like, I re- I had something on my mind a minute ago. Goodness, it was like, oh right, okay. The fact that okay, here's the thing. But I should mention, by the way,
Mhm.
I'm not like I, I just I'm gonna. This isn't being used as a knock anyway, so I'm going to be using a comparison just because, well, I kind of want to talk about appreciating that what it did to expand
Mhm.
on a concept, which is like okay, so like Brotherhood having like because I'm not a fan of the Chimera part of Broho, but I do really like the. I actually still do like the play area stuff. I think that's done well enough where they're like they want to build up that Nina has, you know, like with the dog and Ed and Al still get screen time. I'm just glad that that still exists at all.
Yeah.
Now, what I like about O3 is that it expands on it by giving you even more time, and it's also like very well segmented. I would say there's a lot of more scenes you would get inside and out. It just gives you a bigger scope, a bigger perspective of it all.
Yeah, the pacing was
Um,
definitely enhanced.
yeah, and like so this latter one. Okay, I should mention by the way, this episode I used to doubt the hype a little, but I'll be honest, I actually think this is the type of episode from me that gets higher, like even higher than a 10 somehow. Like that's how it feels to me.
Well,
What
they,
can I
they
say?
definitely do nail it. I'm not gonna lie
Um,
with you, they do nail it, and I do think a handful, not all, but a handful of the hype is pretty well earned.
I was just going to mention the thing that one of the things that did make this episode so unbelievably good to me. That is Brigadier. Uh, what is his name again?
He's the Iron Blood Alchemist guy, right?
Brigadier
Basqua
Basket Grand.
Grand. Basqua Grand.
Basket Grand, that was it. So like Bas Grand, like he appears into the story and there's like at this point it's like he's giving Shu Tucker tension.
He's
Which
pressuring him. He's like putting him under
yes.
the thumb, like, you gotta present results or else your alchemy thing will be revoked. Like you really start to
And
see how rigorous the military is thanks to this guy.
and here's the thing, it's also like it adds more layers to Shu because even though you know what he did was screwed up and you know that well he still said what he said to Ed, knowing that it was like disgusting, like where he said, about how the the experiments, it's like
It's like, this is
he
what alchemists do.
yeah. It's like even though that is really screwed up, there's another layer to it because when
It's
you
like he
see
was just backed into a
Bastran,
corner. Like he either lost the funding, meaning he couldn't take care of his kid, or, well, did unethical experiments. And he chose the latter.
so like when you see Bastran talk to him, he says about how quickly he's doing the experiments for the military, which makes it clear that here's the thing: he may have been fine with this to some degree. However, it was them who pushed them. It was them who, put the nail in the coffin.
Actually, wait. Sorry to interrupt you. I do have to say one more thing here because I forgot to mention this in my description. The fact that, Bass Grand, the Iron Blood Alchemist, after this whole ordeal, tried to cover up the incident, like, don't let anyone see this. Like, that especially shows how underhanded some parts of the military are. I just had to point that out.
And also, I want y'all to keep in mind, Bass Grand may have been in mangahood, but he wasn't actually, prevalent.
He
wasn't
active.
actually... Yeah, he was Dude, he was in it for 5 seconds.
Didn't he get killed by Scar in mangahood?
That's his entire screen time.
Oh my god. See, here they actually give him like a purpose in the story beyond just, oh yeah, we need someone for Scar to kill. Like, jeez. People.
Yeah. And Bask having all this more dimension and making him a character, I think was good because he has a cool little design, and I think he's
greatly
beyond
intimidating. Like, this guy is intimidating.
Yeah, I would be scared of him, honestly.
Like, imagine drinking coffee with him in the lunchroom or whatever. Oh way.
That actually happens.
Exactly. That's why I went, oh, wait, because I was being self-aware.
Also, I've noticed Low 3 tends to do this thing where it makes everything, really blurry, but it's in an artistic way, where it's you can see the shot well, but it's the entire shot is moving and it's there's glass in front of it. I don't know how to put it, but
it's
kind
of like, it kind of feels like that's what Ed sees when he's down there in that dark room. Like, it's like he just doesn't want to believe his eyes. And it's like, this is what you're seeing from his vision. Kind of like a POV shot or something.
Yeah. That's the exact thing I'm talking about. Yeah. It's just a really nice detail.
Yeah. It's both a clever way of giving an atmosphere and obscuring things that they could not get away with on TV. Because for some reason, there are some things you just can't show on TV, even though these are fictional stories. Don't you just love double standards?
But so for other things to do episode 7, I mean, and you'll notice Ed definitely in this Nina arc, it's definitely, got a lot bit of more of a kind of rebellious type to him.
Yeah, you can see how personally he takes this.
Yeah.
I mean, he does take it personally in Brotherhood as well, but here, because of the extra screen time, it feels more so, obviously.
A lot of people think it's nihilistic and
nihilistic.
Do
people just throw words around like that for the sake of it?
Yeah.
I swear.
Yeah, they do. And it's just and a lot of people are just annoyed by the fact that Edge stops to think about every little thing, and I'm what, you mean good writing?
You mean like any person would do, stop to analyze a situation? He's literally trying to be a state alchemist. Of course he would stop and think. That's what people do. Well, smart people anyways.
Isn't that what humans do? But I guess it's melodramatic now just because you can say so.
And it's not like Ed is stopping to thinking in the scene of silent. You can see him this is something I like about the visuals. There are visual cues that Ed is deep in thought, even when there's things going on, even when other characters are talking, even when a scene is happening. You can just see within the animation, his facial expression that he's got his noggin cranking. So I gotta give credit to that as well.
And mangahood, there would be you would have, what was I gonna say? There was a thing about I forgot what I was gonna say.
You'll probably remember it. It'll come back.
Hold on, I really need to say this. It's Edward, Oh
We were
yeah,
talking
like
about here. We're talking about like.
no. Wait a minute. I've got it now.
Oh,
So like
okay.
Havoc, right? Havoc in Mangahood, right? He would kind of just be like, he would usually just be like chill with whatever Edward did, support his decisions and stuff. But
Smoking a cigarette on
here
the side.
he, but here he like, he's a lot more uh involved with the military's actions. He's not like chill. He's quite,
He's got
serious
noticeable
about certain
concern.
things. Yeah. And then you see him in the car with Edward, and even he has to say something to Ed in the car in episode 7. So, like, it's like the fact that it's like the whole world is against Ed. Like
It does a
I
really
don't.
good job giving Ed this really isolated, lonely feel, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's melodramatic.
Hey, you can call it melodrama. I call it atmosphere.
For Frid's sake, man. I feel like you can call anything melodrama, like, if it feels good to you. I'm
You can
just
call
like,
anything mid, and people will just.
yeah.
I hate this mentality. I hate this double standard thing people are just doing nowadays. Cause like,
Okay, like,
hmm?
I might as well say there is one thing I think it is melodramatic about all three, and that is Al in the middle portion. But
Yeah, of
that's
course. Like,
really
I mean,
about
like,
it.
Al's identity crisis was a part in any adaptation of Fullmetal Alchemist I wasn't really that fond of. I mean, yeah, like it's not like a big takeaway, but like it is something that I just felt sort of like, okay, you guys, you might be just going a little bit on the
Sorry,
side of things. I don't know what that
that
noise I made was,
was
but still.
like, here's the thing. Yes, it was extended in O3, but it's not like it didn't already exist. It is still very much an issue.
If anything, I think it's worse in manga, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Like because I mean, okay, I know spending time on a plot element I'm not really that fond of sounds bad, but rushing through it just
Mm.
makes it feel more pointless or just like it makes it feel more brief than it actually is. And like, well, I don't
Well,
exactly. Hmm?
it has even less purpose in manga.
Yeah,
So.
it's like again, I don't like it in either version, and while the time spent on it on O3 would normally bother me because it's so shortly handled in Brotherhood, it just feels sort of like okay, well that's handled, and it makes it just feel kind of like, well, what was the point then? So make of that what you will. Like honestly, it's kind of subjective and interchangeable, but that's just the way I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, well I think that
Um,
wraps up most of what we want to say, unless you have anything else you want to add about episode 7.
I should have. Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah, no, like, I can't go without mentioning what all three does with the room. I can't. Because I know that I brought this up to you, but I haven't put in video form yet.
oh
So
yeah, let's do it.
the transmutation circles in the room, awesome. Uh, filling out like the source material having just a blank room, but then O3 just goes and like lightens it up, puts a bunch of transmutation circles in it, and
Like
makes like
if you were in this room,
presentation.
you'd be like, "Oh my god, what unethical things are going on
Yeah,
here?"
yeah, it's to like show like how out of depth show really is.
Well,
It's like,
not only how out of like not only how like horrifying death Shao is, but just how scary alchemy can be if it can do
yeah,
this.
yeah, and it's like, it's like the way the lights, the eyes light up. Like, are you guys gonna seriously tell me that this isn't like really cool? Like horror-ish kind of, like,
Like this is a
you
memorable
know,
location just for the atmosphere and just how like the fact that it was creepy for Ed and creepy for all the audience members, like, bro, that's how you know something's memorable.
oh yeah. And the scene afterwards where Ed and Al meet up, it's
And like
pretty
Scar
touching.
killing
And
the chimera in the rain and the bloodstain, like
oh yeah,
you just god, like the atmosphere here is on point.
Also, I want you to keep in mind that you're actually shown the death, whereas it was covered up in the source.
Also, like Scar's reaction is also a bit different as well. I mean, in Brotherhood, he just seemed like this stoic, like cold, he just seemed really robotic. But here, when he talks to Nina, you can see he's like, oh my god, what did they do to you? Like, you can see he genuinely feels bad for her. Whereas I mean, I'm not saying he didn't feel bad for her in Brotherhood, but like his facial expressions seem more robotic. Whereas here, he like softens up a bit. I really like that detail for the record.
Yeah, that's like all three has
And
an
like honestly,
insane.
both versions fit Scar. Like I don't like honestly, it's hard to say which version I prefer because both
I
are great for the
I
character.
just was gonna say like
Yeah.
all three just generally has a very like I know it sounds like I'm making this up, but it really does have an insane level, like attention to detail. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of
you'll
insight.
notice things, like you'll notice things in frames like you never did before in a 1000th watch.
Like it helps like it helps to rewatch both of these series side by side because then you can like I think one of the reasons why my experience with O3 is a bit different from others is okay, one, to be fair, yes, I watched Brotherhood first, but then I watched O3 and then I watched Brotherhood after that because I had seen these things side by side and multiple times for the record. Picking up on all these little things actually feels really satisfying and like, hey, this is one of the reasons why I love Gun X Sword because even though that is my literal favorite anime of all time and I've watched it 10 plus times, there are still little cues that I pick up on. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat.
No, so like I think like Edward crying at the end was like it's it's just the kind of thing where like I finished the episode and I'm just like so damn fulfilled because I know that what all three was going for
Yeah.
was like like thoroughly it was like thoroughly thought out the
And
whole
like
way
those
through.
tears, they feel genuine.
Yeah,
And speaking of tears, I think
I was
that brings us in a
actually
good segue into episode
no
8.
I still have something to talk about
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay. Oh, darn
It's
it. I was trying to segue.
sorry.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. Say
Like
what you gotta say. I get it.
so like a few people have complained about the credits having like the transition to the credits comes in too quick in the Chimera's Cry episode.
Oh yeah, because they do a little
Here's
exclusive like cutaway there in that one credit scene. Neat detail, by the way.
well, it just no like the way it transitions into the credits, like because like Ed's crying is followed up by a J-pop song. It's well, here's the thing. I actually don't mind that. The reason being is that like you just like here's the thing. Keep in mind what I said earlier of people like couldn't get past it due to Nina. I'm like, well, this is probably a good thing for them then, since well, you're actually getting a breather from that to like make sure you're not like
Let it
I
sink
know it
in.
does yeah. Like I know it does technically remind you of Nina in the credits, but at least like you're getting the music after that, so it's not as like so it's like it kind of heals you a little
And
because like
honestly,
you're
now,
hearing
well,
the
actually,
sound.
I could, because you comment on that, I could kind of argue almost in a different way. Because, you've seen this credit scene at the end of the other episodes thus far. And then when you watch it now, it might hit you differently. Because now you're hearing this familiar theme. But with the context of the episode you just watched, you just might just feel like, damn, inside. I mean, I just figured I'd point that out because it's something I had thought about. I never thought about it that way, but that's an interesting perspective to take it.
But yeah, so as you were saying about it,
Well, I mean, that's all I really got. You want to move on to episode 8 now?
looks like it's gonna be the the big the big stick and
The big slammy! That's a reference to my
like
God of War videos.
it's like it's basically the fandom's punching bag now.
Yeah, and it's so
Hmm.
funny too because I genuinely like this episode. I know in our other like videos, anytime we've mentioned this episode, I've praised the daylights out of it. But that's
So have
because
I.
I genuinely feel that way about it. Like, this is an incredibly memorable and honestly incredibly underappreciated episode. I mean, you would think after the last episode they'd, mellow out a little bit, get fans back into it, because it's all depressing. And it looks like they're doing that. But then, oh, I mean, maybe I'm just sort of over dramatizing it just a little bit. But oh my God, they deliver it and then some. I mean, first things first, Winry, she's back, mechanic girl. Ed, is like, and keep in mind, Ed doesn't know Scar was the one that killed Nina at this rate. So like, he's still got this all on his mind. I mean, like that's another thing because Ed doesn't know who or what killed the chimera of Nina and Alexander. Like, you just get this like again, you get this really atmospheric feeling of like, what are they gonna do next? And well, sure enough, when revisits, like the Central and all that, Ed, is gonna like see her and all that, and then we get, Crossdresser who enters the cafeteria or whatever it's called, and well, Winry gets snagged, and I gotta admire Edward's detective work here. The fact, he finds the screw, he thinks about, okay, who could have been to this building and left, tracks it down to the butcher shop, and that's where we meet Barry the frickin' shopper. Like, honestly, I gotta be honest. I massively prefer Barry in '03 over Brotherhood. Like, I'm just gonna say it because one, we actually see human Barry and not in a black and white flashback. It's funny, they did that for Yoki too, where the whole backstory of both Barry and Yoki was this like black and white Mickey Mouse styled like flashback thing. Like, yes, 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 I get it. Barry had some comic relief, mainly when he was in armor. But for how serious they're trying to portray him as this, meat psycho addicted, like serial killer, I feel like this is way more effective. And like that fight in the butcher shop, God damn, like what a scare. I mean, you see Winry, she's like bound in chains and she's got like duct tape over her mouth. Ed got his arm taken off. Barry's just like laughing, like, my name is Barry. Welcome to my butcher shop. Like, what a fucking terrifying place to be. And the fact that, Ed, only managed to slip out and he was still scared, like honestly, like this is one of the most expressive Ed has ever been. And honestly, like it's like God, like the spine tingling sensation I got when watching this episode. And may I remind you, FMA '03 only. This isn't something I believe they showed in Brotherhood. Like fuck. And honestly, like Barry's design as a human, this like thin, frail looking guy is actually this maddened psycho. Like, yeah, they did a really fucking great job with Barry here. And like when Ed does get rescued, I love it how Barry, like, despite like, obviously them apprehending him, he just wickedly smiles and puts his hand up nonchalantly, like, well, you got me. Like, God, like they wanted to make this guy creepy. And the cherry on top, again, Ed just breaking down and crying. Like, you can see just how frightened he was. I mean, he thought Winry was going to get caught up. He thought he was going to die. He thought they were never going to get their bodies back. And coming off of Nina's death, like, goddamn, just imagine the emotions going on in his head. And keep in mind, this is still early. Like, imagine how young, like, keep in mind, Ed is young and he's going through all of this. Like, honestly, like these tears are very well earned. And it just makes Al and Winry comforting him feel really earned because you can see they care about each other. But yeah, the world is dark. It's frightening. And well, there you have it. I mean, I love this episode. This episode was just incredibly memorable, emotional. It's got a great action scene. It's got a good scare. Like, what more do you need?
Notice how he has like Did you notice how O3 is the only version where he has a human form?
Yeah, like we actually see it not in a flashback. Like, people, this is a great addition. And yes, Barry's human, like, days were mentioned in other versions, but here we actually see it. They
We're
show,
actually
don't
seeing him.
tell.
Yeah, so like I don't have much of an issue with this episode. I generally prefer to keep quiet about it because, well, controversy. But
That's
anyway,
the dumb thing. Like, why? Like, I agree with you. I'm sorry to really briefly go off topic here. But like, yeah, people getting controversial and people not wanting to open up about certain things really holds down anime because politics and anime never mix. Like, if I say I like Sword Art Online as a whole, but I hate Aincrad, people will come to my doorstep with pitchforks and torches. Like, why should it have to come to that? Obviously, I'm, doing like a over the top analogy, but like you get what I'm saying.
I'll say other than that, it's just that there's a rabbit hole that'll never end. It's like when they'll they'll send you into something where it's like you just can never you can never have a good point because it doesn't fit their narrative.
It's like they just don't want to be reasonable because one thing happens to be a turnoff. Like it's like
Yeah.
I understand, like I understand it's dark. I understand that. I totally get it. This is probably one of the darkest episodes of FMA, if I'm being honest. But like at the same time, I feel like you can't fault it when it's inherently meant to be dark. And it's not like this is the first time this series has done something like this. I mean, literally the entire setup of the Edward, I keep calling them the Eds, like the Ed entities, the Elvics transmuting their mother, like that in itself is a pretty dark way to open up the story. So, like, it's not like this is the first time they've touched on dark themes. Again, the fucking double standards. Like, like if people think episode 3 isn't dark, when it absolutely is, but then they point at, the Nina and Shao episodes in this, like, oh no, that's too dark. I just look at them like, guys, like, come on.
But
Anyways,
yeah,
that's my
so
rant. My
like
rant's done now.
in terms of what I would actually have to say about the episode, well, I think that Ed was smart here, like you said. I don't have anything to add to that.
Like, you really feel bad for
The
Winry here. Like, geez, she really was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I think the way Winry came into it was interesting because
Oh
she
yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
keep in mind this in O3, this is way before House of the Waiting Family segment where she first appears. Like this is literally like your first impression of Winry. Like
Obviously, post time skip, because we saw her back in the flashback, but that doesn't really count.
talking about present
Yeah,
Winry.
yeah, obviously. That's what I was getting at. I just figured
Yeah.
I'd mention that for anyone who's like, but when, like, imagine someone goes in the comments like, but Winry first appeared in episode 3 or whatever. Like, yeah, comment sections be like that
Well, here's
sometimes.
the thing, right? Here's the thing I find interesting because, like, I'm thinking about the manga, and you want to know something that happens in the manga? Well, the mother backstory doesn't actually happen until chapter 24.
Wait, really? Oh, damn.
Yeah,
I guess my
yeah.
memory must be a little rusty if I forgot about that. I mean, to be fair, I haven't read the manga in a while, so I guess it kind of makes sense.
Both adaptations changed it to be earlier.
Which I
Um,
think it's better that way, if I'm being honest.
I don't. I think it's just a different way of doing it.
Fair enough. I mean,
I
after
think
all, it's called an adaptation for a reason because it adapts things, albeit differently.
I think it made sense for all three to do it. That's all I'll say on the matter.
Hey,
Um,
fair enough.
but like, okay, so like the fight, like when Barry like sees Ed in the room and you hear the sound effects of like you
The
know, the
chains on the
grr, like
pulleys and like
you're
the
in the
knives clashing.
yeah, uh, and you're just hearing a bunch of like industrial sounds. It's just like, and then you
You
see them like,
really get the feeling.
and then he ends up having to fight them with like those like pipe things, and then
Yeah,
it's like,
like lead pipes, I think they're called. I think
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
they're
like
called.
I feel like I really felt the weight of those.
Yeah, like you can
It
just
felt
see
like a
the
big event.
desperation. Ed is clinging onto that thing for dear life because it's the closest weapon he has to beat this serial killer who's probably killed thousands of people.
Yeah, and
And like, look at Ed's face. He is terrified here.
yeah,
I mean, same goes for Winry. She's terrified too. Like, they did a really good job. And honestly,
yeah.
Barry's faces, they might be even better if I'm being honest. Like, the way he turns around, he has like these wide eyes. He's not even blinking. Like Barry is like, I'll say something. I love how expressive Barry is. Like, he's moving his arms around like guilty as charged. Or again, like I mentioned, when he surrenders, he just wickedly smiles and puts his hands up nonchalantly. Like, you really get the feeling that this guy is a truly unhinged serial killer when he just
And
nonchalantly reacts this way.
something else I like about the episode is that it ends in a similar way to episode 7, relatively, because, well, it's similar in the sense that, he's processing his emotions after a big attack. Like, Edge went through a lot. And here's the thing, guys, there's a random town. This is why the random town section exists. It's to give you guys a breather from from everything that supposedly nihilistic or whatever earlier on.
Like, not
Or
only does it
whatever.
give you a breather, it gives Ed a breather too. And believe me, he deserves it after the shit he went through.
Yeah. And again, for all the complaints about all three being dark and stuff, it's like, well, the random town section is mostly kind of light-hearted
Yeah, it's like
and fun.
it's meant to sort of help us lighten up, but also it's meant to help Ed lighten up. Like honestly, like if I was in this situation, I'm like, hey guys, let's go to a random town. Let's just chill out. I'd be like, yes, please. I don't want to well in my own trauma either. Just
It's like, yeah,
saying.
sure, there are serious moments, but generally it keeps a light-hearted tone throughout. And that's. I'll be honest. I don't actually have much to say about episode 8, but I think the thing about episode 8 is just that it's so wrapped up in all of the Barry the Chopper stuff that constantly gets criticized. That's like,
And
I'm
like
just
I
not.
am shocked. Like I am shocked people are not like into this Barry because like if I'm being honest, Barry as an armor wasn't really that scary. I mean, beyond his first couple moments in Lab 5, they quickly relegated Barry to comic relief, which, okay, to be fair, I mean, it kind of fits him. I mean, like I said, he's very expressive. He seems so nonchalant. Like, I'm okay with there being some comedy in Barry, but keep in mind, this guy's a serial killer. Like, you gotta give him some creep factor beyond just his first couple scenes with Al in Lab 5. And I think this is a great way to do it.
Also, by the way, message to. I'm just gonna say something quickly to the audience.
Mhm.
If you think we're skimming around something, oh, believe me, it's purposeful. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Goodbye.
Oh, I'm not touching that with a 7-foot metal lead
Nope.
pole either. Yes, I had to make a joke. I had to joke about that. I'm not touching that with a
Honestly,
7-foot lead pipe either.
I think we should just do the random town section right now.
Well, to be fair though, this recording's already an hour long, and I do have places to be, so I'm probably gonna have to end this recording for now. But we can, I mean, considering the fact that my capture card burnt out, we could probably do another recording not
Uh,
too far later down the line.
we could have had I was just about to say we could have done it shorter. I mean, there's not that much to talk about with the Random Town episode.
Well, to be fair though, I feel kind of fulfilled for now and again. I do have to grab my dinner. I'm hungry.
That's a thing. I don't at all. But
Ugh, inconvenient timings. Right. I don't know why I'm turning into an opera singer, but okay.
I mean, I'm not that bothered. I just have a different opinion.
Fair enough.
Um, but anyway, uh, the Nina, the stupid Nina arc is really bad, and you shouldn't watch it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Goodbye.
This is the low point of Fullmetal Alchemist.
Honestly, like the Nina, like it was too disgusting. Like who would like this?
Bury the chopper. That's who. I'm shocked
Bury
that
the
we can make
chopper's
light of
favorite.
this, but like because we know it and because it's just so infamous, I don't think people are gonna be too complaining about it. Like
Well,
are talking about it. I mean.
well, that's the thing. The FMA fanbase seems to strive on that anyway, so I don't care.
Uh, why can't we just have a fan base who enjoys the series? I mean, I'm not saying a fan base has to enjoy every single little
Well,
thing
no,
ever,
I was
but like
actually
I
gonna
feel like I feel like
say,
fan bases nowadays are just not honorable. Like you can't politely
well,
disagree with anyone without them being like, "What? You don't like this character?" or "What? I thought the pacing here sucked," or whatever. It's like there's just this like,
Quan,
yeah.
well, I was actually about to say that, like, they're they're very much like they don't really seem to care about the comedy side of things, considering, well, like,
They don't care about the comedy things and they critique the dark stuff? What?
well, I mean, no, I was about to. No, like, I don't think you get what I'm saying. Like,
Okay, sorry, I'll let you finish. My bad.
I'm saying that they never have a problem with the comedy. They never have a problem with the comedy in FMA, which I I would disagree.
I'm not
I
gonna
think there's a
lie.
lot
Like, okay, while there are some
to,
good moments, a couple of the jokes don't land for me, if I'm being honest.
well, I it just like
And sometimes the comedy feels misplaced. Sometimes.
it's like here here's the thing. I've seen FMA fan base memes. Also, no, I don't like Nina posting for the record. I actually don't.
Literally, who likes Nina posting? I don't think I've heard a single person ever claim to have explicitly liked that sort of thing. I think people are getting sick of it by now, which, I mean, thank God, but
No, Quinn, they aren't. Believe
oh
no.
God,
Like
they're not
the
even gonna give me
opposite of what
that?
you think. No. Nina posting is like the popular thing. Like I even had my friend, like my ex friend, bring up to me that like like just shallowly like sending me the image of like Nina and the dog. What the dog doing? And I'm just like, oh god,
Like,
just
like,
stop.
what does the girl say? Hi. What does the dog say? Woof. What does the chimera say? Daddy. Like, guys, you're not helping. You're
And
not.
also, for the record, I don't find it funny, and I never will.
It's
Believe
not.
me.
It's not even meant to be funny, and people are making light of it. Okay, to be fair, we make light of things too, but we're not like spamming it in the Discord chats.
Well, I mean, it's just like it's so overdone. I've seen it so like,
Yes,
and they
thank
never seem to
you.
get tired of it. And I'm just like, really, like
Yeah,
this got really old.
it's the same thing with the Griffith betrayal in Berserk. People keep talking about it. I'm like, guys, enough is enough.
All
Oh
right.
man, and don't even get me started on other series that have this sort of thing. I mean, I talk about Griffith's betrayal and people just like literally you cannot enter a conversation about Berserk without someone mentioning Griffith's betrayal or the eclipse or whatever. Literally everyone is going to mention that in a Berserk conversation. And like, if I'm being honest, I don't really like the Golden Age arc. It's a really long and drawn out prologue, and like all the big
Uh,
demon fighting action is saved for the later arcs that the anime hasn't even got to yet. Yeah, I got some opinions on Berserk, but that's not for this video, let's just say.
Nearly 2024. Someone say.
Well, anyways. Alrighty, y'all. I'm Quen866. Have a good one. And we'll be right back after these messages. I don't know. I'm trying to make this sound like a podcast.
Au revoir.